The Mediterranean holds a secret that has haunted naval historians for 80 years. In 1944, German submarine U-455 vanished without a trace. 50 men gone, families devastated, questions unanswered. For decades, there was nothing but silence. Then, in 2010, Italian divers discovered something that made their blood run cold. A twisted metal shape 400 feet below the surface, bow pointed upward as if frozen mid-scream. It was U-455. The hatches were sealed. The crew was still inside. But the mystery didn't end there. In 2024, cutting-edge AI scanning technology was deployed to the wreck site, and what it revealed sent shockwaves through the maritime archaeology community. This is the complete story of U-455, from its impossible passage through enemy waters to the horrifying discoveries that AI has finally brought to light. During World War II, German U-boats terrorized Allied shipping lanes. Nicknamed the Grey Wolves, these submarines were portrayed in Nazi propaganda as invincible hunters, silent predators that struck without warning. For Allied sailors, the word U-boat meant burning ships, desperate evacuations, and entire convoys destroyed in minutes. But life aboard a U-boat was anything but glorious. A Type VC submarine like U-455 carried roughly 50 men crammed into a steel tube just over 220 feet long. They lived for weeks without sunlight, surrounded by the constant drone of engines and the overwhelming stench of oil, diesel, sweat, and unwashed bodies. Fresh water was rationed. Privacy didn't exist. Men shared bunks and shifts and ate meals next to torpedoes used as storage racks. Each mission alternated between deadly silence and sudden terror. Hours would pass with nothing but whispered conversations until sonar detected Allied destroyers hunting above. Then the submarine would dive deeper, air growing hotter, condensation dripping from steel walls, while depth charges exploded around them. Each detonation shook the vessel like a tin can. Crews never knew if the next blast would split the hull. Yet these men were told they were Germany's elite warriors. In the early war years, that reputation seemed earned. U-boats devastated Atlantic shipping routes, nearly forcing Britain into submission. Hitler called them his trump card. U-455 was commissioned in 1941, initially patrolling Norway's waters. Early missions were fruitless, weeks of claustrophobic endurance yielding only frustration. Eventually redeployed to the Atlantic, U-455 scored victories, sinking British merchant vessels. The crew believed they were predators, not prey. But by 1943, the tide turned. Improvements in radar, sonar, long-range aircraft, and depth charges transformed the oceans into killing grounds for U-boats. The hunters became the hunted. The impossible passage. By January 1944, the Mediterranean had become critical for Germany. The Allies were advancing through North Africa and Italy, and every available submarine was ordered to disrupt supply lines. Among those chosen was U-455. Its mission was straightforward on paper, but nearly suicidal in reality: enter the Mediterranean and hunt Allied convoys. To reach that battlefield, the crew had to pass through one of the most dangerous stretches of water on Earth, the Strait of Gibraltar. Barely 9 miles wide at its narrowest point, the strait was a fortress, guarded around the clock by Allied patrols, aircraft, radar stations, and minefields. For a submarine, it was like threading a needle blindfolded while being hunted. On a January evening, U-455 prepared for its attempt. The crew sealed hatches, checked engines, and submerged beneath the waves. Inside, lights dimmed. Whispers replaced conversation. Every man understood what was at stake. For the next 40 hours, silence and discipline would decide between life and death. Commander Hans Heinrich Geisler planned to use strong Atlantic currents to mask their presence. The submarine crawled along the ocean floor, inch by inch, while men inside counted every sonar ping, every creak of metal as a possible end. AIR quality deteriorated rapidly. Carbon dioxide built up. Men sweated as temperatures rose, and every breath tasted of diesel fumes. One mistake, dropped equipment, a periscope raised at the wrong moment, could mean discovery. Allied destroyers patrolled above, ready to unleash depth charges that could shred a submarine's hull. For nearly 2 days and nights, U-455 dodged patrols and fought currents. Finally, after 40 agonizing hours, they breached into the Mediterranean. Against impossible ODDS, they had survived. Orders into silence. Emerging from Gibraltar must have felt like rebirth for U-455's crew. They had beaten nearly insurmountable odds. But in truth, the crossing had only delivered them into another trap. Within weeks, U-455 would vanish without a trace. After clearing Gibraltar in late January 1944, U-455 received new orders: patrol near the Ligurian and Tyrrhenian seas and target Allied supply lines. But by 1944, the Mediterranean was no longer a hunting ground for U-boats. Allied aircraft dominated the skies, destroyers prowled the waters, minefields choked entire regions. The final confirmed transmission from U-455 was a routine message acknowledging patrol orders. Nothing suggested distress or malfunction. Then silence fell. No further reports, no acknowledgements. For German Naval Command, it was as if U-455 had simply dissolved into the sea. When weeks turned to months with no word, the Kriegsmarine officially listed U-455 as missing. Families received terse letters, just the crushing acknowledgement that sons, brothers, and husbands had disappeared. Nothing to bury. No explanation to hold, just absence. Speculation began immediately. Some believed the submarine struck German mines. Others argued Allied patrols destroyed it. A few suggested mechanical failure. Without wreckage, all remained speculation. For decades, U-455's fate remained one of maritime history's haunting mysteries. The silence descended on entire families who never learned what happened to their loved ones. The chilling discovery. For 66 years, U-455's fate was locked in silence. Then in 2010, the stillness broke. Off the coast of Genoa, Italian diver Roberto Rinaldi and his team were surveying the seabed when they stumbled upon a shape that stopped them cold. Rising from the silt 400 feet below was the unmistakable outline of a submarine. The divers were struck first by the wreck's posture. The bow pointed upward at a sharp angle, as if the submarine had been frozen mid-ascent, clawing toward the surface in a desperate bid for life. This wasn't the orderly ruin of a scuttled vessel, it was the twisted stillness of a ship caught in its final struggle. What disturbed divers most wasn't the hull, it was the hatches. The forward entrance wasn't simply closed, it was sealed, as though the sea had twisted metal shut. That told a haunting story. The crew was still inside. This wasn't just a wreck, it was a tomb, a steel coffin holding remains of 50 men. Divers contacted historians and naval experts. They cross-referenced patrol routes, missing ships, and survivor testimonies. Archives in Freiburg, Germany, revealed 3 U-boats remained unaccounted for in the Mediterranean. The wreck's size and location matched only one, U-455. Exploration revealed critical clues. The periscope was still extended, meaning the submarine had likely been navigating near the surface in its last moments. The stern section was destroyed, showing signs of a massive explosion. Whether the blast came from a mine, depth charge, or internal failure couldn't be firmly established. For families of the lost crew, the discovery was both agonizing and restorative. The wreck confirmed their loved ones never escaped, yet it gave them a site for mourning. What AI revealed. The wreck's discovery in 2010 answered some questions, but left others unresolved. For years, these mysteries lingered, until 2024, when advanced AI scanning technology was deployed to U-455's grave. Using sonar imaging, photogrammetry, and machine learning analysis, researchers created unprecedented 3D reconstructions of the wreck's interior and exterior. What the AI revealed was both illuminating and horrifying. The scans showed the explosion originated from the stern, consistent with either a mine strike or depth charge hit. But the AI identified something human eyes had missed. The blast occurred while the submarine was attempting an emergency ascent. The ballast tanks showed signs of being blown. The diving planes were angled upward at maximum. The crew had been fighting desperately to reach the surface when the explosion tore through the stern. More disturbing were interior scans. The AI mapped compartments through the hull, revealing the likely positions of crew members in their final moments. The forward torpedo room showed evidence of multiple personnel, crew members who'd rushed forward when the stern was hit, seeking escape through the forward hatch. But the hatch mechanism showed impact damage, suggesting it had been jammed shut by debris or twisted by the submarine's violent descent. The control room scans were perhaps most haunting. The AI detected multiple figures collapsed at their stations, the commander, helmsman, and officers who stayed at their posts until the end. Most chilling was what the AI revealed about the crew's final moments. Based on damage patterns and flooding evidence, researchers concluded the explosion didn't kill most of the crew instantly. The stern compartments flooded rapidly, but watertight doors held for a time. The men in forward sections survived the initial blast. They would have felt the submarine beginning its final descent, heard water hammering against the hull, felt the pressure building as they sank deeper. The AI analysis suggested they had perhaps 10 to 15 minutes before the pressure became unsurvivable. Long enough to understand their fate. Long enough to know they wouldn't escape. The sealed hatches, the depth, the damage, all combined to create a tomb from which there was no exit. The analysis revealed evidence of desperate actions. Tools were found scattered near the jammed hatch. The crew had tried forcing it open. Most haunting, the AI detected that several crew members had activated emergency breathing equipment, trying to extend their survival as water rose and pressure increased. They didn't die instantly. They fought for every second of life. The legacy. The discovery of U-455 and the subsequent AI analysis did more than solve a historical puzzle. They forced the world to confront a legacy hidden for nearly 8 decades. For families of the lost sailors, the wreck offered long-awaited closure while reopening deep wounds. The discovery in 2010 ended uncertainty, but made the loss undeniable. The AI scans in 2024 revealed the crew's final moments in excruciating detail, knowledge that brought both understanding and renewed grief. Internationally, the wreck has been designated a war grave. The twisted hatches remain closed out of respect. For divers who visit, U-455 is treated less as an artifact and more as a memorial. The U-455 legacy has also reshaped historical assessment of the U-boat campaign. In wartime propaganda, the Grey Wolves were portrayed as ruthless hunters. But wrecks like U-455 reveal another truth. These men were fragile, often young, caught in a war where survival was the rare exception. 2 crew members survived, Gerhard Schwartz and Helmut Spitzer, reassigned to training duties in early 1944, just before the submarine's final mission. That reassignment saved their lives. Schwartz became the voice of the lost crew. In later years, he traveled to Genoa, standing at the shoreline where U-455 lay, remembering 50 comrades he'd left behind. Today, U-455 rests undisturbed off the Italian coast, its bow directed forever upward, still perhaps trying to touch the surface. The site remains unmarked. It lies hidden, a silent guardian of history, a reminder that the sea does not forget. The AI scans have given us unprecedented insight into U-455's final moments, revealing the humanity of war's victims. These weren't monsters or propaganda figures. They were men, some barely adults, trapped in a steel coffin, fighting for survival until their last breath. The mystery of U-455 has been solved. but its legacy endures as testimony to the cost of war, the fragility of life, and the ocean's eternal vigil over those it claims.